Why does life feel so complicated when the things you want are actually very simple? You want to get in shape, build a career, make money, improve your focus, become more disciplined. None of these goals are unclear. You already know what they require at a basic level. Yet instead of moving forward, most people feel stuck, overwhelmed, or constantly searching for the right approach. Life itself isn't complicated. What makes it feel that way is everything people add on top of it. I'm going to show you what's actually happening and why people struggle even when the path is straightforward. Chapter 1. Simple doesn't mean easy. At its core, life runs on simple principles. If you want to improve something, you do the actions that move it forward and you repeat them over time. That's it. There is no hidden layer where the rules suddenly change, no secret system that replaces effort. But this simplicity creates discomfort, because simple does not mean easy. Doing the same useful actions consistently requires patience, discipline, and the ability to tolerate slow progress. That's exactly where most people struggle. So instead of facing that, they look for something else. They look for a better method, a smarter strategy, a more optimized system. Chapter 2. The illusion of progress. Here's what's actually happening. Your brain prefers novelty over repetition. It gets more stimulation from discovering something new than from doing the same thing again. So when progress feels slow, your brain pushes you to switch, adjust, or restart instead of continuing. This creates the illusion of progress. Because you're thinking, planning, and learning. It feels productive, but in reality, you're avoiding the part that produces results. Let me make this concrete. If you want to get stronger in the gym, the process is simple. Train consistently, apply progressive overload, eat enough, recover properly. But instead, most people jump between programs, watch endless videos, tweak small variables, and constantly question whether they're doing the best approach. They spend more time optimizing the plan than executing it. And that's where complexity creeps in. Chapter 3. The wall analogy. Think of progress like building a wall. Every time you take action, you place one brick. It's not impressive, and it doesn't look like much at first, but over time, it builds something solid. Now imagine instead of placing bricks, you keep stepping back to redesign the blueprint every day. You adjust the angle, change the material, rethink the structure. It feels productive because you're engaged. But at the end of the day, there's still no wall. That's what overcomplication does. It replaces visible progress with mental activity. And because thinking feels like work, it tricks you into believing you're moving forward. Chapter 4. Why people stay stuck. Another layer to this is expectation. Most people don't just want results. They want results in a way that feels smooth, efficient, maybe even exciting. They expect clarity and motivation to be there consistently. But real progress doesn't work like that. It's repetitive, sometimes frustrating, and rarely dramatic in the short term. When reality doesn't match expectations, people assume something is wrong. So they change the plan. They think the method is the problem when it's actually their relationship with the process. You don't need a perfect system to move forward. You need a system you can repeat. There's also a deeper reason why people complicate things. Complexity creates distance from action. If something feels complicated, you can justify not starting yet. You can say you need more clarity, more knowledge, more preparation. It sounds responsible, but often it's avoidance. Simplicity removes that escape. If the path is clear, then the only thing left is action. And that's where discomfort shows up. Chapter 5. The real shift. Here's what you need to understand. In most areas of life, the gap between where you are and where you want to be is not filled by a breakthrough idea. It's filled by repeated execution of basic actions. You think you need something new, but most of the time, you need to continue. And that's where people lose. Not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't stay with it long enough for it to work. They underestimate consistency and overestimate optimization. So they keep adjusting, keep searching, keep restarting, and every restart resets their progress. If you zoom out, the pattern becomes obvious. Life feels complicated because you keep interrupting simple processes before they have time to compound. You don't need a more complex answer. You need fewer interruptions, because in the end, it's not about finding the perfect path. It's about staying on one long enough to actually get somewhere. Chapter 6. Why you keep interrupting yourself. If the path is simple, why do you keep stepping off it? It comes down to how your brain is wired. The first driver is impatience. Your brain naturally values immediate rewards more than delayed ones. Effort now for results later feels less attractive than something that pays off instantly. So when progress feels slow, your brain looks for alternatives. It pushes you to change the plan, not because it's better, but because it feels more rewarding in the moment. That's why people keep switching strategies. They're not optimizing for results. They're optimizing for how the process feels right now. The second driver is uncertainty. Simple processes don't give constant feedback. You can do the right thing today and see no visible result. That creates doubt. You start questioning whether it's working, whether you're wasting time, whether there's a better way, and uncertainty is uncomfortable. So instead of sitting with it, you try to eliminate it by gathering more information, adjusting your plan, or looking for confirmation. But that creates a loop. The more you seek certainty before acting, the less you act. And the less you act, the less real feedback you get. So the uncertainty stays. Execution reduces uncertainty. Thinking alone does not. Chapter 7. The comfort of complexity. There's another layer most people miss. Complexity feels safe. When you're researching, planning, optimizing, you can't really fail. You're improving your approach, and that feels productive. But the moment you start executing, results become visible, and visible results can go both ways. You might succeed, but you might also fall short. That's where discomfort shows up. So complexity becomes a way to stay in motion without exposing yourself to that outcome. It feels like progress, but it's controlled. Execution is different. It's uncertain, and that's exactly why it works. Chapter 8. What actually moves you forward? If you want to break this pattern, you need to change what you measure. Most people measure progress based on outcomes. Did I improve? Did I get results? Did something change? But outcomes lag behind behavior. There is always a delay. So if you only look at results, you'll constantly feel like nothing is happening, especially in the beginning. That pushes you back into optimization mode. A better approach is to measure execution. Did you do what you said you would do, regardless of the outcome? That creates a different feedback loop. Instead of chasing results directly, you build consistency. And consistency is what produces results over time. This also changes how you evaluate your decisions. Instead of asking, "Is this the best method?" you ask, "Can I repeat this consistently?" That question removes a lot of unnecessary complexity. Because many methods work, what matters is whether you stick to one of them long enough. Chapter 9. Where clarity actually comes from. Most people wait for clarity before they act. They want to feel certain that what they're doing will work, but clarity often comes after action, not before it. You learn what works by doing, adjusting, and continuing, not by thinking about it in advance. Waiting for perfect clarity delays the very thing that would create it. At a practical level, this means reducing the number of decisions you make. Every extra decision creates friction. It gives your brain another opportunity to hesitate, adjust, or avoid. Simple systems work because they remove decision points. If you know what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, you don't need to negotiate with yourself every time. You just execute. Chapter 10. Reframing boredom. There's one more thing that causes people to quit, and that's boredom. Repetition doesn't feel exciting. It doesn't give constant stimulation. That makes people assume something is wrong. But boredom is not a warning sign. It's a sign that you're doing something long enough for it to become familiar. And familiarity is exactly what allows progress to happen. When you stop reacting to boredom and continue anyway, you move past the phase where most people quit. That's where separation happens. The people who get results are not the ones with the most advanced strategies. They are the ones who can continue when nothing feels exciting. Chapter 11. The takeaway. If you put all of this together, the picture becomes clear. Life feels complicated when you keep interrupting simple actions with unnecessary thinking. Progress comes from repeating a few things long enough for them to work. And the main obstacle is not a lack of knowledge, but a lack of consistency. If you remember one thing, let it be this. You don't need a more complex plan. You need fewer interruptions, more repetition, and the willingness to continue when it feels slow. That's how simple processes turn into real results.